Hey, and welcome to today's episode. Well, on today's episode, I am inspired by you, my friend, because in last week's Ask Me Anything on Instagram, I got loads of questions about the Incarnation Cross. And yes, a lot of questions specifically to actual Incarnation Crosses, but there was also questions that I get a lot. So I thought I would cover those off today, and I'm going to give you a really simple exercise that is going to help you really embody, clarify your Incarnation Cross. All right. So let me start at the beginning for those of you that are newbies to human design. What specifically is your Incarnation Cross? So it's made up of your personality sun and earth, and then design sun and earth. And that's the order in which these gates show up. And when those four particular gates come together for you, they are going to be a specific Incarnation Cross. So, for example, my numbers are 37 personality sun, 40 personality earth, then 9 design sun, 16 design earth. So when those four gates come together in those particular positions, that means that you are, like me, a cross of planning. Now, one of the questions I get so often, or one of the statements I get so often about incarnation crosses, is that people will say, my incarnation cross, I don't resonate with it, or I don't understand it. And I have seen this time and time again, whether it was me originally, all those years ago, or the clients that I work with. I even had one manifestor client who was so unimpressed by his incarnation cross that he actually renamed it. He went through a process deciding of what exactly that meant to him, and then renamed it entirely. So the principle behind that is actually a very powerful one. The thing is that the incarnation crosses are a interpretation of how four specific gates will work together. Okay. Now, within those four gates, we actually have two pairs or two programming partners, meaning that they are gates that sit at opposite ends of the mandala, meaning that these are energies that can feel like they are, dualities, or they're opposing. But really, once you start to get a feel for these energies, especially the higher expressions, the gift, and the Siddhic state in the gene keys, then you actually see how they work so beautifully together. But they can have challenging aspects because they sit at these opposite ends of the mandala, meaning that they are these opposite energies. So in their shadows, they will tend to butt heads a little bit. Now, within your incarnation cross, you've got the four gates, or two partners, if you like, and how those gates come together and in what order is going to make a bit of a shift, a bit of a change on your design. For me, I've got the 37 sitting in the personality sun. So that's our biggest energy. It's the top right-hand glyph on your chart. But that 37 could be flipped with my 40, or it could be over the other side, in the sun or the earth. So it could be flipped. So my point is that there is a number of expressions of where these gates can fall. And now each gate actually has a specific theme. Obviously, anything that is in human design, let's say, our personality side, so our sun is the way we shine in the world. It has kind of like masculine focus, doing energy. Our earth is our grounded energy. It's the energy of it's probably a little bit more feminine, more being. And we either have our personality, so it's that kind of who the world thinks we are, who we think we are, versus on the left-hand side of the chart is our body. So this is how we feel we are, who we feel we are, and the more natural energies that live within us. Now, and overlaying that, you also have the sun and the earth on that side as well. And there are some nuances to each one of those gates in human design as well. I teach a whole class of this in HDX, but so that as it is, what it does is there's just this room for movement. So what will happen is that someone's interpretation of that particular incarnation cross, so let's say the cross of planning, which I didn't resonate at all with either when I first came to human design. And what can happen is, because depending on where the gates fall, the themes can kind of they're nuanced effectively. So if you have I have the 37 in the personality sun, this is the biggest energy. And when I would read a lot of the Incarnation Cross information about my cross, they were this constant talking of community and family. And these are all things that are in my 37, but they didn't resonate with me at the time, especially because our Incarnation Cross is meant to be, Ra called it the job description of our aura, but it's kind of like it's a significant place where we find our purpose. Okay, now it's not all the only place we find our purpose, but it does have a significant impact on our purpose. And so the point being is that when I first came to my Incarnation Cross, I didn't resonate with it at all. Now, a lot of that for me was that I was completely out of alignment. Okay, I know my 37 so well, and back then I was resisting it. So this is the first thing, and it's not just Incarnation Cross. This is one of my best tips for you in human design, is that wherever you resist your design, you are resisting the truth about you. You are resisting yourself. The wait is officially over. My book, Human Design Made Simple, is going to launch on the 20th of May in the US. And I could not be more excited. This book is totally inspired by you. And to be honest, my line 3 experience. At the end of the day, when I came to human design, it was complicated. There was so much information. I didn't know who to listen to, and the language was so negative. And in my experiment, I discovered the ways that we can access our human design in the most simple solutions. Hello, line 5. So in this book, I give you all the simple ways to experiment with your human design so you can integrate it into your life. And it's designed so you can take it everywhere with you. You can experiment with all the important parts of your design and actually get results straight away. So the thing that I would love you to do is to follow the link in the show notes if you're in the US and go and pre-order the book now. It'll be in your hands before you know it. The sooner you get on the list, the sooner you will get it. And for those of you that are in Australia or Europe and the UK, it's already out for you guys. So go out, grab it, and transform your life. Human Design Made Simple. My favorite little baby. Actually, probably not my favorite. I've got 2 kids. My 3rd favorite. I don't know. Anyway, go buy it. It's brilliant. So, the first thing with your Incarnation Cross is you could be resisting it because you're actually resisting yourself, because subconsciously you have learnt that this part of yourself isn't acceptable. It doesn't receive love. It doesn't receive nurturing. It doesn't belong if it shows up. So for me personally, it was the shadow of my 37 that was keeping me very disconnected from my Incarnation Cross, because there was this constant lack of support. Okay. And that's very much the shadow, like weakness, the shadow of the 37 and this lack of support. So I was kind of living in that shadow state, which was causing this resistance to my Incarnation Cross. So the first thing is, are you actually resisting you? Now, oftentimes this is a journey. It's not something that you can just, sometimes people will be like, oh my God, I'm absolutely just resisting myself. Like that is something I'm really good at. But if you're anything like me, I had built up so many stories, so much shadow, so much conditioning, so many limiting beliefs that had hidden away the true beauty of my 37, the power of my ability to create family and community, which now I look at it and go, in fact, I even had a conversation with my eldest son today about this incredible family that we are creating. I had so many visions as a kid growing up of having this incredibly close, connected family that are always there for each other, that just love to hang out together, that sit around a table and share meals together, like all of this really cool stuff. And I've definitely had versions of that, but I hadn't really found a consistent example of that in my life. And over the last couple of years, I've started to build that through friendships, through my kids. You know, my kids' friends feel like part of the family. My friends feel like part of the family. My team have become part of my family. So over time, as I've opened my heart and I've healed my shadows or integrated my shadows, then all of a sudden things resonate with me. And I can see how my 37 is so incredibly powerful. So often when we come across our design, this is what's going on. It's actually covered up by our fear, by our conditioning, our shadow, and all the mechanisms that we created as a child to stay safe and loved and belong. So, first thing, are you resisting you? There's a good chance of it. Second thing is, because things can be nuanced depending on how the gates move around, one of the things that I'm very conscious of, and I teach everyone and I've done for myself, is you've got to discover what's true for you. So how do I do that? Well, I break down each gate and I just ask myself as I'm reading over the gates. And if you need help, we have a PDF. We'll put the link in the show notes. You can grab that has the human design gates and a summary of the gene keys. Again, I recommend you getting the gene keys and listening to the gene keys or reading the gene keys. And what I would encourage you to do is just pay attention to what resonates with you at first, or the things that you're like, oh no, that's not me. You know, the thing that you really like pull back and resist on, because that's probably you. So getting to know each individual gate, okay? And then starting to see where in the past has this shown up in my life? How has this shown up? Where do I feel safest to express this? What are the examples of this? And as you go looking for the evidence of this energy that expresses through you, then you'll get to know it. You'll get to see what that authentic version of that gate and that theme looks like, feels like, sounds like for you. Now, once you've done that for the 4 gates, then what's the story that those gates tell to you? You know, what is the story that feels true for you? And then you can start to put the pieces back together. And for me personally, you know, a lot of, I feel a close connection to all 4 of my gates. Like these probably are our most prominent energies. But the gate that I didn't hear a lot when I first read my Incarnation Cross was my 16. Yet once I broke down all 4 of my gates, I really connected to the 16. This love of mastery that I have. This, you know, what they write about my Incarnation Cross is that the cross of planning is all about, you know, building structures, communities, families. And I was like, I don't know, that really resonates. And it, you know, the 16 does, like, it builds structures through that, the energy of mastery. So for me, I've got a lot of mastery of the mind. But what's really interesting about that is that I also my cross falls into the first quarter, which is the the quarter of the mind. So at the end of the day, a lot of the structures that I build are going to be mental structures. So when we break down the Incarnation Cross, instead of just reading it in a book, then we can kind of really start to resonate more clearly. We get more clarity on these themes that are going into our Incarnation Cross and how we specifically express it. And then, as I said, we pop it back together. Now, one of the cool ways I love to pop it back together is looking at through the frame of the activation sequence in the gene keys. Because again, Richard goes more specifically into each gate, which I love. Now, I will say, we all know my jam is human design made simple, and I definitely do the best I can to simplify the gene keys as well, because there's a lot. They can be a lot. And if you're new to human design and you're hearing this person, Emma, talk about the gene keys as well, I do encourage you to go and have a look at them, but don't let them overwhelm you. I feel like the Gene Keys is a book that you kind of sit with for a while, like you keep in your, well, I was going to say your back pocket, but it certainly won't fit in your back pocket, where you go over it, you listen to your Gene Keys or you read over your Gene Keys a number of times, and it takes time for it to just marinate and to kind of drop in. So don't be in a hurry with the Gene Keys. They're not designed that way. So with the activation sequence, which actually is the Gene Keys version of the Incarnation Cross, except Richard doesn't have a theme for each cross the way that human design does. But what he says is he talks about the themes of each gate. So in our activation sequence, our personality sun is our life's work, okay? Then we go into our evolution, which is our personality earth. And this is if our life's work is driven by and grounded by the earth, okay? He uses the language, it's the turbine that turns our life's work. Then we have our radiance, which is our personality sun. And this is our health, our vitality. It's how we physically shine in the world. So again, it gives us more specificity. And then we finish with the purpose. And Richard talks about, which is our design earth. And Richard talks about this as our purpose because it's an internal fulfillment. And I definitely resonate with that, like my 16 and my line 5, because the line 5 is the voice, is so deeply resonant to me. So again, when we use those frameworks and we kind of journal on those frameworks, then again, we get more truth about our unique and authentic expression of these gates and of our Incarnation Cross. Because sometimes when we go external first isn't ideal. We want to go internal first. Who am I? Why am I here? And so doing the work on these gates or these Gene Keys first, and then maybe going and reading about our Incarnation Cross, then it's more likely to resonate, because we'll see the bits that go, yeah, that resonates. Oh, yeah, I can hear I can hear the gate 9 in that, or I can hear the gate 16 in that. Yes, I can see that. And then things kind of sink in a little bit more deeply. So here is my exercise for you. Go and discover your 4 gates of your Incarnation Cross. If you haven't done it already, go to my website, get your PDF, which has everything on your human design. Get those 4 gates. Use this podcast as a model and just think about what these gates mean to you. What feels true for you? How do these themes show up in my life? Use the journal prompts that I've given you in this episode to help you get greater clarity on each individual gate and your Incarnation Cross. Sound fun? I think it sounds fun. It's a fun exercise. I trust you got what you needed from today's episode, and I so look forward to having you on the next one. Bye for now.